like to please invite Mr. Ashish Kar and Shaji K V, Chairman NABARD. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's have you both on the stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that the awards and beer session only begins after this session, and I would cordially invite you to join us. So first up, please be seated, because let me also quickly tell you about the fact that we'll indulge in a quick tete-a-tete, and post which we move on to another very interesting digitalizing agri value chain financing, the hackathon felicitation. So with that, without any further delay, I'd like to hand over the stage to both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's close down on the movement. Let's have you all take your seats. We are not done as yet. I'm going to request you to please be seated. We're not starting the awards without this session, so it's only happening after that. I'm going to request all of you to please be seated. Everyone in the aisle area, please clear it and take your seats. With that, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Shaji, I think first thing we should do is organize this kind of a fintech festival in a slightly more rural setting next year. Can I request you to kind of take a lead? The next Global Fintech Festival should be actually in a rural area.
Yeah, so actually, right now what we are doing in NABARD, I think there are enough fodder to have such a festival. It may not be in Mumbai then, in that case, because we can be in some more, say, semi-urban, which is near to some city. We can think about that. But then, rest assured, there are a lot of initiatives which NABARD, along with the rural financial institutions, doing. So enough fodder, what we have seen today, of a lot of innovative things coming in. I think we can replicate that in a better way, or rather, in a customized way in the rural.
So this is a fantastic news. I think the kind of innovation that we can have in rural India, and NABARD is ready to kind of spearhead that from a fintech and agri-tech perspective will be spectacular. And why not? We have just, the statistics are really outstanding. The number of internet users we have in rural India, the number of the broadband users, mobile users, the way data is getting consumed, is actually just starting to suggest what is the art of possible. In fact, I believe on the Jan Dhan Yojana side, we have now crossed about 2.5 lakh rupees of savings, which is also one of the most important ingredient coming into the banking sector. It's really a privilege to be here with Mr. Shaji, who is leading one of the most important institutions from agriculture and rural development, especially on the financing perspective, NABARD. Mr. Shaji, I know a little bit about yourself. For the audience, Mr. Shaji has served in multiple capacities. He was a commercial banker, drove some of the most ambitious projects. He has been the chairman of a regional rural bank, again drove some very, very outstanding projects there, and now at NABARD. Tell us a little bit about your background, about your growing up, about your experience, and how it is shaping up, how you're thinking about NABARD.
So whatever is pertinent now here, I'll tell, because I started as a rural banker with the public sector bank, and after that I got a chance to head a regional rural bank. After that, of course, I moved to NABARD. What we have seen is that the rural bank, I could see that whatever in a commercial bank, whatever we are doing, one size fits all products which are coming in, may not be suiting an area where localized interventions are needed. So that is where I thought of having many of the other types of institutions coming in. Of course, NBFCs are doing a great job in innovating things, but then the cost for accessing them is higher for people. So in that case, I think like the current role as chairman, I think we should do something collaboratively with all the institutions, including the largest of the commercial bank, with the smallest of the corporate bank as well.
Excellent. And actually, just prior to our session, we heard some good innovations being announced, whether it was on the EUP side or the UPI ATM, so maybe I will come to that on how we can use some of these innovations a bit later. But tell me, for an institution like NABARD, and at some point of time you were supervised by NABARD, now you are in a supervisory role, you have set a very ambitious vision for the sector. Tell us how NABARD is transforming, what is really changing at NABARD. how you are thinking about some large-scale programs.
Yeah, so as a supervisor, or rather being supervised in my previous capacity by NABARD, I could find that whatever NABARD is doing in guiding the rural financial institutions, as some of you may be aware, NABARD is a supervisor as per the Banking Regulation Act for the rural financial institutions. By RFI, we mean cooperatives and regional rural banks. But then from the NABARD side, as an ecosystem developer, I think NABARD needed to do a lot of things down the stream and to help handhold, not only facilitate, not only just direct, but also do along with these institutions. And that exactly is what we are trying to do. Right now, we are thinking about digitizing the cooperatives, which nobody thought about. The cooperatives, which are around 100,000 of them, which are the last mile entities with close to around 13 crore farmers over here. If you see the PM Kisan data, 14 crore original farmers were there. Originally, there was 14 crore, but they weeded it out with ineligible persons like the taxpayers and such other things. It came down to 8 crores. But then the 13 crore farmers, who are majorly small and marginal farmers, they are dealing with primary agriculture credit societies. Of course, by hearing the name, the problem of governance will come, whether they are capable of handling those transactions for the farmers. That question will arise in most of you who have not gone really to the rural areas. But then we have a conviction that these entities can deliver, provided we are equipping them with adequate technology and with some governance, some reforms need to be there. So that exactly is what we are trying to do. Along with that, the other entity, which is the regional rural bank. So they are also in better way in terms of governance, but in technology they need a lot of things to catch up. Whatever initiatives today we have launched, I think we need to customize those initiatives for the rural areas. For that, I think NABARD can play a role here.
Excellent. I think you have given me some very strong threads. Let me pick a few of them. But when we speak about technology, when we speak about making some of these entities really ready for the future, often we think a lot of investment is required to bring them up the technology curve. Technology changes, you need to really upgrade capabilities in all fronts. Some of them are really small. How can people participate, partner with them when they will always be lagging behind on the investment curve? How can NABARD help them scale up or help them go up the technology adoption route?
So there are examples where when smaller entities are there, they have to come together. That's what the collectivization, which we have seen right from the NABARD's initiatives in the self-help movement, and right now we are seeing the farm producer organization movement, where we wanted to collectivize these smaller entities and then bargain. They will be bargaining for themselves together, so that economies of scale is there. Taking a leaf out of these experiences, what we are trying to do is to have collectivize these entities for investing in technology. And that is where, of course, the PAX computerization, that is the primary agricultural computerization which you do, that we are providing the technology collectively to all, and they will pay as they use. But then initially some subsidization also will be there. Apart from that, right now many of the cooperatives which are very small, they are in CBS, but they don't have any surround applications, whatever we are thinking about, including cyber risk and such other things, and they are not in the proper payment systems. So in that case, a shared services entity for as a rural back office for the cooperatives, and that is what we are thinking about. And we will be soon launching, and actually NABARD will spearhead along with the Government of India and also the cooperatives, and we will be having an entity which will be jointly held by these stakeholders. And then what we intend to do is that to provide the technology services to these entities and also talk with the management, because ultimately the management of these entities will have to decide on what technology they should deploy in their institution. To that extent, what we need to talk to them, we need to educate them, we need to handhold them, and then we need to provide them the technology as well and customize it as per their needs. So it's not one size fits all, which we have seen in many of the national level institutions, where they can just provide this technology or invest for the technology in one location and then roll out in the various parts of the country. Whereas in the case of rural, as you told, there need to be some location specific interventions. For that, technology also should suit that. So this back office will be equipped for that, and that is what the collectivization of these entities for providing technology and related services to the farmers or rather the rural people. That's what we are intending to do. Collectivization there.
Well, I'm just amazed to hear the vision and the roadmap. I mean, the number of entities and their customers who can then be connected to the entire digital and the technology movement will be amazing. So actually, it's probably the best news we have heard today on the opportunities that will just open up if you were to really move on this path.
That will open up a lot of opportunities for the fintech players over here.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually, that will be the platform which we give, and you can come on and demonstrate whatever innovative solutions you have for the problems which rural people face. And reducing the cost is what we are looking at. If once you do that, I think we are open for partnership in those such activations.
What a lovely invitation. I mean, this is completely a new territory. Really, you should pick up this offer. The audience should pick up this offer with open hands and move forward. But tell me, I'm a little, while the ambition is grand, Chairman, do you think they can still compete with the commercial banks even with this kind of investment and backing by NABARD?
So I expect an answer to no. But a person of my background, I have still conviction in the role of financial institutions. In fact, within NABARD we used to discuss the regional rural banks with 30 crore deposits, deposit holders, and 3 crore only is taking loan. That is 1/10 potential. The gap to cover the credit is huge. That is one thing. As I said earlier, 13 crore of the cooperative members. Some overlap here and there will be there, but mostly that overlap, maybe 30% overlap if you account it for. I think huge potential is there. And I feel that with processes which we will be, as a supervisor, in the supervisory capacity, we'll enforce these processes on them. But then they have to now come out with as technology solutions for bringing in efficiency. So they'll be found wanting. So whatever gaps will be there for them, that we'll try to bridge either be directly or through some enabling ecosystem which we intend to develop for them. With that, I feel that the private sector lending, which is now the panacea for most of the largest bank itself is defaulting in private sector lending obligations. I have a strong conviction that these large banks should not be forced to go to the rural areas to lend. Their expertise and their strength should be used for the larger activities like infrastructure development and such other activities, and they should spend more energy there. So this area should be left to the rural financial institutions, provided these entities are able to meet the demand. The supply of services should be adequate enough to meet the demand. So we will be creating such an ecosystem, and any player, including the rural financial institutions which I told, RRBs, cooperatives, and also an NBFC also can come in and use the plug and play facilities which we offer, of course for a fee, but then that still will be subsidized one. So in that case, I think we can free larger banks for their larger obligations of nation development, infrastructure development, such other things. Whereas the rural area, and then they can choose to come to rural areas as a business proposition. So if they choose to come, of course there are regional warriors there fighting for the market share, and they have to fight really for the market share. And maybe this scenario will be there maybe 1 year hence when cooperatives and RRBs are equipped with technology, plus other rural players who are willing. And even the rural branches of the commercial banks also can join this play.
So I absolutely was not expecting a no for an answer, but I wanted the audience to hear from you your conviction of how these entities are so critical, and in fact you have just laid out a roadmap for how banking will evolve and how, as India moves towards a Viksit Bharat, 2047 vision, how entities will play a very different role, and it was just fascinating.
In fact, that Viksit Bharat point which you told, we mapped the area. Still, there are gaps. there are white spaces in many of the parts of the country where such entities can come in more. 100,000 of societies which I told, another 200,000 of them we have mapped the potential for such entities. So these are all will be neighborhood, I have not called them banks, but then there will be players in the value chain. Maybe a credit union of the US or the Rabobank, which is the aggregate of all these entities in the Netherlands and such developed countries. So we'll take leave out of those experiences, but then we have to fine-tune that for the India situation. And that's what we'll be doing. So more such entities will be there. And you all are aware that Government of India is focusing on providing quality services at reasonable cost to the nook and corner of the country. And in fact, they call the border villages as the first villages. We used to call them as the last point where we leave India to other countries. But then what Government of India wants is that these villages or these areas will be the first villages to India. So the priority should be given to such areas where you are all aware that there are infrastructure bottlenecks there. Financial infrastructure in such areas will be the focus area for such areas.
I kind of make it up that Viksit Bharat will mean Viksit villages, and NABARD will play a fantastic and a very important role in Viksit Bharat through Viksit villages. You extended an open invitation to startups and fintechs using NABARD's platform. The proof of the pudding lies in walking some of that steps yourself. NABARD has a very rich, I would say, initiatives. You also have innovation funds, you have a bunch of subsidiaries. Talk us a little bit about how you have moved forward in terms of fostering innovation and supporting some of the startup ecosystem in the rural area.
I'm not sure whether you are aware of that. NABARD manages the fund of funds for the rural sector. 2% of our net worth, closely around 200 crores, we have earmarked for the fund of funds within NABARD to support these newer entities who are providing solutions to the rural problems. Altogether, right now we have invested in around 30 alternate investment funds using their fund of fund money, and many of the fintechs over here would have been beneficiary of us through the alternate investment fund. Then gaining from their experience, we had around 15 years of experience in such investments. Then we launched this our own proprietary AIF, which is a category 2 fund, which is an Avengers fund, which is around 600 crore as the fund 1 which we have done, of which almost 50% is now invested. Close to around 18 portfolio companies are there which are reasonably doing well, and some of the stalls are there in the GFF here. And we are also fostering partnerships with the stakeholders in the rural areas. Not only we are a financial investor in such things, we also work with them to link with the entities and the stakeholders in the rural areas, develop their business, and then whatever business cases they have, interlink also. There are a lot of interlinkages between our portfolio companies which are happening. And plus the existing players like cooperatives and all. See now the shared service entity which we have told, I think at least 5 or 6 of our portfolio companies are fit enough to enter into partnerships with the shared service entity. So that means we are actually not a financial investor alone. And then we are not looking at returns. Of course returns are important, but then more than returns we are looking at the impact. So that way we are we call that LPs and and GPs are there. We call ourselves as PPs. We are the patient partners. We are here to provide equity support or debt support to such entities for a longer time, and we look at the impact and the problems which they are going to solve. So that way, the Avenger Fund 1 is already there. So now we are working with the Government of India for another blended capital fund which is in the offing. Maybe shortly it will be launched. We call it as Agri Fund, which we are looking for early stage startups, pre-series A funds and such other things, which will be smaller ticket size. But then we want to foster at least some 100 such interventions across the country, so that at least some say 20% of them will succeed. That will be great for us. So NABARD fund experience we have is that around right now our IRR is around upwards of 40. Of course, it's around 2-year-old, but then we may wait for one exit also we have done where almost we got around 3x of whatever we have done. So that means our experience is huge, and we will like to leverage that experience and be an entity backed by sovereign. We have patience to to stay invested for long. And that's what we are looking for, some partnerships with fintechs over here.
Wow, that's like, I'm not sure anybody in the audience knew the full scale of your participation in the startup and fintech ecosystem. As you rightly said, you are the patient partner and social impact funding and the kind of insights you have given us into how NABARD is running some of these funds. I think it's really, in some ways, an eye-opener for the audience. Maybe we should just put it out more in open, sir, and I'm sure a lot of people will be attracted to NABARD. Tell me, I'll go back to my earlier point around the CBDC point that came up. You also mentioned something about the marginal farmers. Is there a way we can bring this innovation to really help and transform our KCC, for example? Is that something that is a viable or is a possible solution?
So, those of you who know data, almost 30% of the farmers are not getting adequate or having a credit at all, and those maybe another 20 or 30% may not get adequate. So why they are not getting credit? Because they don't have any proofs, documents for the land, even though they are tilling the land. The land may be in the name of their grandfather, that's for sure. And another use case will be that they are tenant farmers. Almost 20%, 25% is the tenancy. And tenancy is a dynamic figure. Every crop season it changes also. And then the tenancy is not to be proved by documents because the landowner may hesitate to give documents to that. So then a normal bank may not recognize them as a fit customer because of lack of documents. In that case, purpose binding the loans for using the CBDC concept. We are doing some pilots on that. The KCC, you are all aware that Kisan Credit Card is a flagship scheme for the government of India, where production credit largely supported through that. Then there is an interest subvention and prompt repayment incentive attached to that. So now, whether we can now link that KCC with the tenant farmer who is actually tilling the land without leakages, because now the recovery issue is one issue which we face in the rural areas, where because of various other reasons, externalities involved, farmers' motivation will be that maybe an election is coming, so they may think of a waiver or something like that. But at least the purpose for which the loan is given to be served. Once that purpose is served, then farmer will get adequate income for repaying that, and farmer will be motivated to repay also. So to that extent, now whether we can purpose bind the KCC. In that case, we are doing some pilots with larger commercial banks and also with some regional rural banks, and we will come out with some outcomes of that. Study that. See, whatever we do. See, now rural areas is minefield of innovation. You can fail also in innovative things. So whatever we think about, we'll do it in smaller pilots. Learn from the pilots, the failures, and if needed, we do another pilot, ring fencing all those whatever issues we face, and then come out with the national level rollout. And that's what we did physically in terms of cases. The case is one of such outcomes of a pilot which we did. The self-help group movement also is a part of pilot. But on the technology basis, we need to now digitize the KCC first of all. That is one thing which we are trying to do. Which there will be a platform for any entity to come in and lend credit through this platform at a subsidized cost. Plus purpose binding the loan product for those who don't have adequate proofs to come as a regular customer.
Yeah, we really wish NABARD all the best in this pilot. I think if this goes well, the kind of impact it will have for the citizens who are right now not included, I think will be just immense, and I think there can be nothing more powerful than this kind of purpose binding. When we think of rural, we kind of get trapped a little bit on the production side and the farming side. But actually, rural is beyond farming and production and crops. Because you're rural development, you're just not agriculture, you're rural development. Talk us a little bit more how you are seeing some of the action there and how private sector or startups or fintechs can play a role in that aspect.
So, you said right that rural is not agriculture. Of course, agriculture is rural. But rural is not agriculture. If you see the data also, almost 35% of the income only is coming from agriculture for the rural people. Remaining, that is predominantly it is non-agricultural income which is coming. We have done National Financial Inclusion Survey, NAFIS. There is a flagship survey which we are doing. So we have found that there are diversified sources of income, including from their own enterprises, wage income are there, and then of course the agricultural income is there. So now with the job creation as an issue, national level, we are thinking about setting up smaller enterprises at the near farm gate level, so that the farmer can move up the value chain. Right now, if you see that there is overcrowding in agriculture, there is disguised unemployment happening. So we need to take people out of agriculture first of all to higher end activities, maybe some primary processing, including grading, sorting, storage, then further processing, and then the value chain need to be developed properly. And then the intermediaries which are there, we need to collapse those intermediaries, and farmers should move up the value chain so that the higher share of the consumer price is realized by the farmer. To that extent, we are into a lot of MSME activities. So now we are coming out with a comprehensive policy for rural MSMEs. MSME is one of our mandate because this mandate was added in 2019. So accordingly, we have structured our policies for fostering more MSMEs in rural areas, which are essentially farmer-driven primarily, or the next generation of the farmers who has got higher ambition in their life. So we are doing a lot of entrepreneurship development programs, handholding them and directing them towards the right activities. We have a shelf of such projects also ready. We are working with farm producer organizations for that, because farm producer organizations are essentially the startups. I can classify them as startups in agriculture because they aggregate the produce and then do the processing, initial processing. So we need to work with a lot of farm producer organizations. For that also, huge opportunity is there. We are now coming out with an FPO platform as well, digital platform. And then we are also doing some pilots in the value chain, where we want that the value chain need to be digitized properly, because otherwise, see, any project financing which we do, we escrow the cash flows, and there will not be any other security available. So in the value chain, the products move in one direction and the cash flow moves in the opposite direction, and that cash flow need to be explored properly so that the financing entities, they develop a comprehensive product of covering 2 or 3 nodes in this value chain. This escrowing of the cash flow and the leakage prevention, that is the very crucial. So we are doing some pilots across the country. We find that the value chain in one particular geography in India may not be the same. Even if the crop is the same, in other geography, another type of value chain need to be developed. So customization need to be there. So this is a permutation and combination of the geography, the variety, the agroclimatic condition, and the cultural activities. The cultural aspects also comes into play. So we are now trying to do some innovative interventions in there. So there a lot of MSMEs, the potential is huge, the employment generation is huge, and of course the technology requirement, the innovative requirements are huge. So I think the fintechs and also the startups over here can look at those options as well.
We can go on and on, but let's see if there is any question on audience's mind, if you would like to pose it to Chairman NABARD. There is, can you just have a mic there, please? Let's see. We can just take 2 or 3. We are, yeah. Mic is coming to you.
Impact or the service given by NABARD to us. So we are working in the self-help group space, and NABARD has given the pilot project. We are working with RRB and DCCB. So as Sir explained, so there is a space for fintech and startup, particularly in the rural area. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There was another hand. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi. Sachin Deshpande. I'm representing FinTech. Actually, we're working in priority areas like agriculture and fisheries, wherein we are actually connecting with fisherwomen, which is also a woman-driven initiative. So we'd like to know both agriculture as well as fisheries because there is a PMSSY scheme which is also there. So can we collaborate with NABARD on those lines because there are a lot of things we would like to have in terms of the use cases which you got, which you wanted to roll out.
Yeah. So if you see the current budget announcement, a lot of announcements are there for the fisheries sector particularly. Right now we are in the process of doing the stakeholder consultations in various states where how the fisheries, both the marine fisheries and the inland fisheries, how it can be developed. One such consultation is already over in Vijayawada. Another one we are doing it with, in Kochi. We are associating with the Union Government, the Fisheries Department, and also MPDA, Marine Products Export Development Authority. So you should participate in such stakeholder consultations and put forward the idea. We as NABARD, we have been given the pivotal role to develop the fisheries sector. So we are thinking about having a fisheries stack also, a platform where the fintech players can come in and so whatever experiences we are having in the agri sector, we can actually implement that in the fisheries with some customization because essentially the principles will be the same.
Yeah, we are having a MOU with CIF, that is Central Fisheries Institute. So I think we should work together.
So that, thank you. So that actually we are out of time now. So I'll take this cue to ask you a question, final question. So how do you see the agri startup and the agri fintech space shaping up in the next 5 years? And what would be your one advice to the entrepreneurs who want to operate and let's say participate with NABARD in this space?
So if any startup or a tech company need to be there, they need to have data and verified data need to be there. You may be aware of certain developments happening in the Government of India level where they have developed a framework for the agriculture sector where the data need to be properly fed. There's a framework given to all the states because agriculture being a state subject, it's a state government driven project, but then overall standardization across the states. For example, a simple reason that one crop name across the states, the same crop will have different names and technologically it will be challenging for you to actually have a solution across the country for that. So there will be a crop registry coming in where uniform nomenclature will be there and proper coding will be there. That framework is given. And then the other thing is that the land, which is with the farmer, uses for growing, cultivation, or even the lead activity, that also need to be properly digitized. That framework also is given. And then the crop or the animal or whatever agricultural activity or rural activity is doing need to be properly codified also. So all in all, the agri stack, which you may have heard about that, with the 3 different layers of data. So that will give you a wealth of information for any fintech to come in and innovate for solutions. And then you can do advisory services or whatever right now capabilities you have. I understand that many of you will be found finding challenging to have proper data of farmers. But once this agri stack, which is in different stages of development in various states, Karnataka is fairly advanced in that. I understand that Madhya Pradesh, UP are all will be doing it in maybe in another 2-3 months. The proper data will be available. Once you have this data, it is a shared database and it is an API-based integration can be possible. So I think you should look at those developments and NABARD will be happy to help you out. In fact, we are looking for partners to work on this agri stack. We are partnering the states right now in populating the data into this framework. And once that is done, I think it is time for the agri-tech and the fintech players to come in and use that.
That is extremely helpful. Please put your hands up.
Sir, I have a question. I run an agri-tech and a precision agri startup. I have 2 questions. How do I get funded? Number 1. Number 2, how NABARD can build public digital infrastructure specifically for agri and rural so that the farm productivity using precision agri. Precision agri calls for a lot of capex, but we don't need to go because we can build precision agriculture as a service. So I would request you to comment on how do I get funded, number one, what are the initiatives by NABARD like RBI to make precision agriculture as a reality with DPI and fintech and ecosystem buildings. Thank you.
So by funding, you mean equity support or the working capital?
The equity, the investments.
Okay, the investment support which you need. So if you have a solid business case and a solution for the problem which are in the rural areas, I think you can come through the AAF route, that is you can approach any of the alternate investment fund. NABARD is supporting, or directly to NABARD, where the NAB Ventures also is there as a direct AAF for such investments. You can approach them, that is one thing. Second thing is that the digital public infrastructure which you are telling. I just mentioned about the Agri Stack, which is a digital public infrastructure, DPI, where you can look at your own requirements of data. And if needed, you can also work with NABARD to develop a database which is required by you or your similar entities who are working in precision agriculture. If a specific data requirement is there, you can always talk to us and we'll be happy to develop it for you.
Lovely. With this, we have to bring the session to an end. I think this was one of the most interesting sessions which brought together real problems, real opportunities, real unlock, and technology, and the kind of vision you have laid out for making it really happen, putting the investments, unlocking the scale, I think has been just fantastic. We wish NABARD all the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, I request you to put your hand together on Mr. Shaji.
Thank you very much. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, first up, on behalf of NABARD, I'd like to please request Mr. Shaji to please present a memento to Mr. Ashish Garg. So I'm going to request the team. Ideally, I know, sir, it has to be the other way, but Team NABARD has something. Applause there for the amazing initiatives by NABARD and for the fabulous creating of the session by Mr. Ashish as well.
Another intervention of NABARD is geographically indicated GI tag product. This is the product of Varanasi. So we are helping, we are working with the rural artisans to GI tag their products and better visibility for them.